Hello and welcome to a special Tuesday edition of the Steelers Sanctuary Recap. The reason you saw that intro is we are going to be combining some of our wonderful recap stuff into the good and the bad and the ugly. So just because there was a Monday Night Football game does not mean that you guys are going to miss out on the good, bad, and the ugly stuff. So first off, how are we guys feeling at 6-2? Because it's a weird 6-2 feeling.
I'm super excited. I'm trying not to get too optimistic, but boy, you can't watch Russ and the way this offense rolls and not get excited. We haven't seen this kind of offense in a very, very long time. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm watching the wrong team a couple times this last few weeks.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's true. And the good thing is, normally we start out the show with talking about injuries, and we not only came away with a win, and did it in a kind of weird, ugly, scrappy way that I feel like the 2023 Steelers would have lost, but we did it while staying healthy. And that is something we have not been good at this year, staying healthy. And going into the bye week, the injuries that I have to bring up right now are guys who are coming back. So we get to start out on a big positive because we should expect Nick Herbig to be back. We should expect Zach Frazier to be back. We should expect Cordell Patterson to be back. Eventually, we're going to get Roman Wilson back. But as far as staying healthy, I'm really excited about that. But what I'm not particularly excited about that really is leaving a bad taste in my mouth and is making it very difficult for me to be overly excited about this is the slow start on offense. So Dave, kick us off here. What do you think about how we started off again on offense?
I'm not overly concerned. I think a lot of it is red zone stuff that they need to clean up. I'm still seeing good things. I'm still seeing, Najee Harris running well. I'm still seeing guys run open. It's the change between him and Justin Fields, where they just expected Justin to run in everything in the red zone, and it takes a little while for them to get going. But overall, like I said at the top, this offense has me super excited, and I'm not really concerned about the slow starts too much.
Yeah, and then I see John is chipping in and saying they're passing my eye test. Yeah, I didn't think they started slow last night. I thought they just shot themselves in the foot a few times. I mean, I think the first drive was about as effective as it could be. Would you like to not have an offensive lineman reach out, and grab a face mask? Although I really felt like he just got shook. It was a penalty. There was no question it was a penalty. I didn't feel it was. I mean, I think things like that are going to happen, and compared to some of the things, I mean, I think the Giants had a field goal drive where they had a penalty on literally every first, within every first down to third down, they had a penalty and we're backing up. If they're the 5-yard kind, I mean, you hate to see it. Yeah, it was nice. It was, screwed my fantasy team. But
yeah,
at the same time, I'm kind of looking at it and saying, okay, look, if this is the worst thing, and I put it out at halftime, it was 9-9. I thought we played very bad defensive half of football. The offense shot themselves in the foot. And usually we're down 17-0 in those kind of games, and we were tied 9-9. So I overall, could it have been better in the first half? Yes. But I do think it was another positive step forward that we basically only stopped ourselves in the first half.
Yeah, like for me, I'm very encouraged. Like right off the bat, they drove right down the field, and they kept driving down the field. Like it wasn't like we were seeing in the past where it was all these stalled drives. They just kept stalling out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. It was completely different this game. This game, there was tons of first downs. I think the first play of the game, they got a first down. I think it was a 10 and out route. He hit Ben Jefferson for first down right off the bat. And you're like, all right, here we go. So the offense is flowing better than I've seen it in maybe 4 years, guys. Not trying to exaggerate here, but like seriously, like this is the best I've seen it look flow-wise in a long time. So it's not that it was a slow first half. It was just kind of like what Bob said. They just kept shooting themselves in the foot between the penalties and stuff like that, not getting 2 feet down on some plays and stuff like that. Just that kind of stuff is what happened, really. It wasn't because of the Giants' defense. It was them shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, one other thing I would throw in real quick, too. I mean, the Van Jefferson, where that was a touchdown and he kept running, all he had to do was sit down.
Yeah, good point.
That was a big mistake. But what I've noticed, and it's not on defense, and I know we're going to talk a lot about the defense, but on offense, what I'm noticing is even though they're very similar plays on that little boot out, and he just hits. It was tight ends. This was Van Jefferson, although he did hit Darnell Washington for a nice 30-yard gain later in the game. That play is very similar looking, and defenses haven't figured it out. And I have a feeling that Arthur Smith has some counters off of that he's keeping in his pocket, because for now, nobody can stop it. And I didn't think Wilson would run that play as well as what Justin Fields did. And I think Justin Fields gets out of sight of the pocket and is a real threat to run, but Fields can't throw those touch passes. I mean, they'd make a huge difference how Russell Wilson touch passes that ball to Darnell Washington, Van Jefferson. It's a catchable ball, and it really shows.
It's killing teams. It's killing them.
Yeah.
Now, my question about concern level for me is, and why there's still a concern level is, while I did see us move the ball more, and I absolutely agree, there's more rhythm, there's more flow, I like the play calls better, it still seems like we haven't improved our margin of error. That's my worry, where I know a lot of other teams in the NFL where you get stopped or you get pushed behind one or two times, you're still going to be able to find that way to score. We have that one moment where it stops our momentum. We can't find it again. And that's my worry, that this team, even though the offense is rolling, that margin of error worries me, because I agree with Bob. We didn't do anything to stop those drives. It was a penalty on Broderick. It was a missed play by Van Jefferson. But it's the small margin of error that concerned me. Is that sitting heavy on any of you guys?
Go ahead, David. Sorry.
I just think maybe that's a little bit of a talent issue, right? I don't think they're good enough to overcome penalties or drops or lacks of concentration like Jefferson had. I'm sorry to be a broken record, but it all comes back to not enough talent on wide receiver, man. So they got to stay in rhythm and flow. They can't make mistakes while they stall. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, for me, is it talent or just is it an experience thing? Like Van Jefferson should know by now that's what you do on that play.
He's got plenty of experience. So
that's what I'm saying. That's why it makes no sense to me. It's not that he's not talented. It's just, does he just not know to do that? Like that's what I don't understand. Like if this was,
he's not talented and he doesn't know.
If this was CA3, then fine. It's his second year in the league. Maybe he's got some learning. But it's inexcusable for me for Van Jefferson to not know to do that. You understand what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of shit that pisses me off. It's like, bro, how long you been in the fucking league? You don't know to fucking do that? Like really?
And to be fair to him, I don't think he's been in that position a lot because he didn't see a lot of balls with Justin Fields. So maybe they're all feeling each other out now, where they're going to have to get the nuances down. And, stopping in zones, I don't think was ever an issue with Justin Fields because it wasn't the same offense. It wasn't the same,
That's a
Justin
very
Fields
good point, because
one read and get rid of the ball, and that's it.
It could be that. It could be he's just so used to Justin, because on that play, Justin probably would have ran it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Justin was one read and take off.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with this whole, we don't have a margin of error. We scored 6 out of 11 times we touched the ball. The difference is the mistakes we make now take touchdowns off the board and put up field goals. I mean, there were a lot. If you told us any game last year we were going to score around 6 possessions out of 11, would we have taken that? I mean,
it's not that I don't disagree with you. Here's the thing. Against the Chiefs, against the Eagles, probably now against the Ravens, and we'll get to that. Why now? Their offense. Thank you. The Commanders. You can make these mistakes as often.
Yeah. We are down 28-9 against the Chiefs.
Yeah, you get away with it against the Giants.
We are down 28.
You won't get away with it against the Chiefs in that.
No, we were not this year's version of the Chiefs. We would
be down
28.
You don't know.
I see. Yeah. I disagree. They're undefeated for a reason. Like, they've lost some key players, but still, it's the fucking Chiefs.
This is the best season we have to match up against them. The start is like Bob. I agree with you, but even Kenny Pickett could find ways to turn things on at the end of the game. I'm not impressed by the Steelers suddenly finding a second half. I need a first half team. We're not. I need that. We need that in the second half of the season, and we'll get to the second half later. But a positive that is going to be necessary for teams like this, and something we haven't seen for the Steelers in a while. We'll start out with Bob because we were talking about this specifically, and the Steelers have a different perspective. Bob, how do you feel about the special teams and what Danny Smith is doing? Because it's been a drought in Pittsburgh for special teams. What is that adding to it?
Well, one more point on the slow start before the
absolutely.
Okay, they credit us with 5 first half possessions, but that 3 plays at the end of the half doesn't count. We scored on 3 out of 4 possessions. Yeah, they were field goals.
Yeah, field goals though.
Yeah, I understand, but let's put it this way. If we're scoring 3 out of 4 times, there's going to be touchdowns mixed in there. I think we're making a lot out of a massive improvement compared to where they were to where they are with Wilson.
Yeah.
Let's see how it looks after the bye.
I agree with that. Yeah. They've improved. There's no doubt. Offensively, I think they've improved.
Yes.
I'm just saying that you score field goals against the Chiefs, you're going to be down 21-9 at the half.
In
a normal year,
in a normal year, yes.
All right. If you have an argument with the Chiefs, which I might agree with you, their offense isn't quite what it was. Say it's the Bills or the Lions. They're definitely down 21-3. And look it up in a whole.
Well, yeah, the Lions. I agree. Yeah,
the Lions. Yeah, I mean, we agree. Lions probably might be the best offense in the league.
It's not even close. It's not even close.
So, I'm just saying, like, the Chiefs are still pretty good. Like, they're undefeated for a reason. Like, there are certain teams where these field goals are going to bite us in the ass. We're facing a team as bad as the Giants, and we kept them into the game the whole 3 quarters because all we did was kick field goals in the first half, and they were able to match us. That's on the defense, of course. But in general, that's how you let these bad teams possibly stay in the game and beat us. We always call them Mike Tomlin specials, right? Where we let these teams. These is one of the main reasons why is because we fucking kick field goals too many times instead of getting 7 points on the board. So that's my worry with this is that you can't do this against the real teams. That's okay. In the second half, we're going to find out. We are going to find out exactly what they're going to do.
We're going to find out in 2 weeks against the Commanders.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's face it. The Commanders didn't score a whole bunch of touchdowns this past weekend.
They did not. No, you're right. They did not.
I feel like with this team and this defense, if there's any year where we are in a prime position to take on those contenders, it seems like it would be this year where some of the bigger teams are struggling to score in certain situations. We can take advantage of that. And that could be good. But Bob, jumping back really quick, because everyone is talking about bubble gum. Everybody is talking about shirtless lifting. And I am loving it. But you guys brought up a good point that a big reason that I might be so excited about this is we don't see this in Pittsburgh. So, Bob, what do you think about the special teams and what they're contributing?
I mean, it's nice to see. I mean, it's been a while. First of all, if you're going to go deep in the playoffs, you have to have good special teams. We were talking, I can't remember a Super Bowl team that didn't have good special teams in the recent past. So, yeah, is it nice to have, Austin Busta return? I mean, overall, he's been good as a returner. So one has been coming since he started doing it last year. The blocks are nice. I mean, yeah, I think there is a fluky element to getting a block kick. We had 3 games in a row where we got one, but you need flukes and luck to have a winning season. I mean, at the end of the year, like last year, Cleveland got bailed out week after week with some ridiculous, just crazy plays, and they end up, finishing ahead of us in the playoff run. Didn't do too well in the playoffs, but then again, neither did we. So, yeah, you need some flukes and you need some luck, and it's good. Boswell's the best kicker in the game. Waitman has done a fantastic job filling in for Johnston. And why the hell wasn't he our punter for the last 4 years? I mean, come on, Mike Tomlin. You couldn't see he was better than Presley Harvin? I know you invested a draft pick in Presley Harvin. Great job, Kevin Colbert. Always drafting a punter makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Dave.
Listen, Presley Harvin had pictures of Mike Tomlin. That's why he stuck around so long.
Yeah, I look, I'm thrilled special teams. We haven't had this in a long time where you got them blocking tons of freaking field goals. You have a punt returner that's actually taking it to the house now. You got a punter who's actually, competent and can kick, better than average for once. Like it's a fun thing to have that we haven't had in a long time, which makes me think, on top of the stuff with Russ Wilson, this team might actually be a contending team. We're going to find out. But the special teams element of it is huge, and it's something we haven't had in a long time.
Yeah, I don't think the block kicks are fluky, Bob. Maybe one every once in a while, but if you get 3 in 3 games, you got to look at that as more coaching than fluky. They're onto something with that. This special teams has been a weapon, and that, like we've all said in this, that's something we haven't seen in a very long time here in Pittsburgh. So it's a good thing. One thing I'll bring up, and I saw it, I wish I remember who said it on Twitter, but someone's going to figure out that they can get a fake field goal on this team, because the Steelers sell out to block that kick, and they're going to get caught one of these times. They got to be very careful. When that person brought it up on Twitter, I wish I remember who it was. It's a great point. Someone's going to, the Bill Belichick's of the world, are going to figure that out and faked it on them and have a big play. So that's something to keep an eye on.
Something to look for in the Ravens game. Harbaugh's
another one. Yeah, good point, Bob. The Ravens. Yep.
My buddy Eric Peterson, he's put on here that special teams may begin to add another threat that hopefully makes preparation for the other teams more difficult, and that's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's absolutely, and special teams takes different kinds of investments from players, because you have to be willing to just barrel down the field and put your body in situations, and everyone's buying into what Danny Smith is doing. And I genuinely feel that's going to add another part to that. Now, Bob, the one thing about you talking about the fake field is I'm hoping with Danny Smith, the coaching is to the point where everyone's looking out for that before they sell out. That you're looking for the indications of a fake field goal before you do that. But you guys really think that there's going to be a point in maybe a playoff game or something where Danny Smith, guys really wanting to sell out for him and block that field goal, is going to bite us? Like, is that something you guys are actually worried about? Because I haven't had that concern up to this point.
Well, that's more Dave's point, but I mean, before I let him say it, I mean, I don't think you can, and I think there'll be an element of, we got 3, we're going to get more. And I think Dave and whoever said it on Twitter, that's a really good point. I mean, yes, at some point somebody's going to go, and just toss a little pass over the top.
Yeah.
Yep.
Teams, this is what they get paid to do, man. They're going to analyze an advantage, and they're going to see on film. They're going to be like, wow, they really do sell out. So if we get put in a position where we think, hey, we could probably get this first down if we fake it, they're going to go for it. They're going to give it a shot and try.
I did see the Steelers pull back on a couple last night and not go full rush. So maybe Danny Smith's already thinking about that, hopefully. But
hopefully, yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah, because you get too many in a row. It's such a hard thing to do. You get too many in a row. Unless you got a guy like Calais Campbell in the middle who's 6'9" and just figures out a way to get his hand up there. I mean, to Danny Smith's credit, he draws it up. I mean,
he draws it up. That's what's crazy.
Yeah. He's drawing it up. He's putting the right guys in position to succeed. It's a great job by him. It really is.
And he's been killed around here in years past. So it's good to see him have some success.
Not to put him down.
Unjustifiably.
Unjustifiably. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, holy shit. Like,
He clearly puts the work in. I don't know if he's had the players. He finally has the players to kind of maybe execute what he wants. But you can't argue. And give some credit to Calvin Austin. I've killed that kid for years now, and he's starting to come along. That punt return was unbelievable.
Yeah,
that really was.
He was probably pretty happy to have somebody find him or get him the ball when he broke open behind the defense. With having played with Kenny Pickett for the last couple of years, he was probably thinking, "Oh my God, he's going to throw it to me."
That's true, because I saw on Twitter, I wish I could remember who said it, but I'm gonna have to go back and specifically watch on all 22 later and go back in some other games that it's not really Calvin Austin that we should be getting upset about. It's the people who haven't been getting in the ball, and that man is consistently more open than we think he is. Yet again, I'm not saying he is. I'm saying I saw that, and it's going to make me go back. Have you guys noticed anything with Calvin Austin before we jump into the next thing about is he more open than we think, and it's just we haven't had people to get him the football, and that's why we've been so down on him?
In ways, yeah, I think so.
Well,
I think Arthur Smith's done a better job of getting him open. Everything's better now that Matt Canada's gone. Everything's better. It's not an exaggeration. You can't exaggerate it enough.
No, but it's definitely the offensive coordinator quarterback combo that's absolutely catapulted this team to putting up more points now. There's just no doubt.
And it's not just this. It's not just this season though. In the 44 games that Matt Canada was our offensive coordinator, we had no 400-yard games. Since firing him, we've had 5.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah,
that's going back to last season.
Yeah.
So we had 426 yards against the Giants. That's ridiculous. But we still don't have the wide receivers we need, regardless of the Calvin Austins. Regardless, we need somebody else. Before we touch on that, let's touch on the trade that happened that we weren't involved in, but that involves someone that we're going to see soon. We're going to see Deontay Johnson 2 times in the second half of the season. David, what do you think about that? Concerns, frustrations?
Oh,
what do you think about
big concerns. As if they needed another weapon. Bateman and Flowers are good enough, let alone with Andrews and Likely, and now they get one of the top 5 best route runners in the game, in my opinion, at least when he has a competent quarterback. This ain't good. This ain't good for us. We're going to have to face them twice. Now they've got a nice shot in the arm on offense. So, yeah, it's going to be tough.
Well, the one thing I'll say about this, and I don't love that Deontay's gone to the Ravens, but I actually thought Andrew Filipponi made a good point about this earlier today.
Wait, what?
Andrew Filipponi.
Yeah. Deontay Johnson has been traded twice in less than a year for nothing. Deontay Jackson has turned out to be a really nice piece for us. Didn't have a good game last night, but he's been a really nice piece for us. But, on the paper, everybody's like, oh, we lost that trade. But now in reality, it's at best a break even.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We won the trade now. Now you could say that.
Yeah, they traded Deontay Johnson for basically a pick swap, a 5th and a 6th.
Yeah,
right.
Ridiculous.
Carolina sucks.
Yeah.
Why are they giving away their best weapon?
Literally, they got, 8 games out of them?
This is why they suck.
Yeah.
This is why they suck, because they make bad trades like this. It's ridiculous.
They're clowns. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Obviously, this is going to be Deontay Johnson's best quarterback he's ever played with. It's going to be a nightmare to defend that team.
I don't know that I would call Lamar the best quarterback he ever played.
Oh, I forgot to even bring up the fact they got King Henry.
What would you say was better,
team.
Bob? Ben at the end, I don't think.
Ben in 2020 was pretty good.
All right. His rookie year, right? 2020, yeah.
No, that second year. His rookie year was with Mason.
Okay.
Yeah, and
maybe.
And even Ben's last year, you got to remember, 7 come from behind wins. That team had no business making the playoffs.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, but this is Lamar Jackson is in his prime. He's another MVP type season. Deontay Johnson's going to put up numbers. There's no question about it. I think he's going to put up numbers.
The best quarterback he's had. I wish he could have had Ben in his prime, but he didn't. And now he's got someone in his prime. Do I think Lamar
My first reaction when the trade went? Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Lamar Jackson, he's not Peyton Manning. I'm not going to crown him that, but at the same time, he is good. So
he's very good.
Yeah. So
I'd like us all to put a.
I'm not downing him. I just think Ben's better.
What's that?
I want us all to put a tinfoil hat on really quick, and we'll start out with Bob in this because that's normally. Do you think there's a chance that Harbaugh's sitting there and he's like, you know what? I got the Steelers coming up 2 times in the next couple of weeks. They're playing better than I expected them to play at this point. I need an advantage. I need someone who's going to be able to tell me what the Steelers are going to do more than I know right now. Let me bring Deontay Johnson in for nothing.
I don't.
Any chance that full tinfoil hat?
It not only
I'm sure it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it's not. But he didn't play under Arthur Smith. He has no idea what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right.
I think
the Bills.
Good.
The Bills got Amari Cooper. The Chiefs got DeAndre Hopkins. Now the Ravens have Deontay Johnson. You guys love Omar. It's time to get off the pot and bring us a receiver. We've been waiting for this since March, and I keep saying it. I'm the broken record, but Don't give me Van Jefferson is good enough now, Bob. Please.
I know he's not good enough, but I'm just saying, I don't think that, but I think they think that because
that's what I'm afraid of. They do think that.
So hey, to Zach, to your point, they
Yeah.
went and got another wide receiver because of how many drops they had in this game against Cleveland. They lost. Bateman had some key drops. Flowers, I think, had a drop, and I think they saw they had a chance to get another wide receiver that'd make an impact cheap, and they went and did it. To Dave's
It didn't cost him anything.
That's what I'm saying. It was cheap. It was those two things right there, cheap, and he saw he needed another wide receiver. That's what I think he saw. But to Dave's point, I agree. Like Omar Khan, you've got to fucking do something. Like you've got to. The only way you're going to contend is if you get Russell Wilson a legit number 2. Yeah, maybe Wilson is that good that maybe he elevated Jefferson to play a little better, and now he's got Calvin Austin playing better. But still, if you give him a legit number 2, then we are a legit contender in the AFC. Because this 6-2 record, I'm not trying to be a downer here, but look at all these teams we've played. How many of them can we brag about beating? Not
Chargers.
many.
We can brag about the Chargers.
The Chargers were literally almost all in the hospital.
Yeah.
That's how many injuries.
Yet again,
Only because Broderick put Bosa in the hospital.
let's take a breath because while the teams may not have been good, if we go back to our podcast, there are specific teams where we said, I'm worried about this matchup. The Steelers. We have done things this season against units that we did not expect us to do. The Jets and Giants defenses are not slouches. And if suddenly we're going to say now that, they were the Jets and Giants, we talk very highly about their defenses coming in. So I don't think we played the way we should have. Okay, most of us. But a lot. I genuinely feel that there's been a lot of goalpost moving after we're winning. So I agree, 6-2. It's not a 6-2 that I'm feeling strong about, but you can't discount every team we played. Some you can, but we beat some legitimate units.
No, it's fine. They're good, but they need to get better. They need to get more talent.
And that's my thing is that you got to get more talent if you really want to contend with these teams. You got to get more talent. There's just no way. And
that they think Van Jefferson's irreplaceable because of his block.
Right.
And I can't take him off the field. So why
here's
go get
the thing.
somebody?
We're beating teams, and some of them we barely beat. Barely. Like we could brag about maybe beating the Falcons because they ended up having some pretty important wins themselves there. We could even Denver ended up doing well because their defense and their quarterback's playing better. Sure. But some of those other teams we beat, the 2-6 record teams, not much to brag about there, to be honest. Yeah. And it was close.
Like just a shout out John here about Muth. He's saying, hey, we got targets we don't use. I do think from a tight end perspective that Wilson is getting others involved. Well, I'd like to see Muth even more involved. But, if you're going to give me a Darnell Washington for 30 yards and McCole Pruitt for 15, if the tight ends are catching 5 or 6 balls for combined 75, 80 yards, I'm okay with that. That's because with the Arthur Smith offense, there's some things in there. I just don't think Omar Khan wants to sell out for a wide receiver. It's not that, and bear in mind, he's got a coach who, for better or for worse, is telling him, we don't need anybody. We got these guys. And, okay, fine. I'm going to make a move because I know those guys aren't good enough. But then if I make the move, maybe you're going to play him at running back because you sure as hell can't play an offensive lineman in the right spot. What trust am I going to have that if I go get you a big name wide receiver, you're even going to play him?
That's my fear, is that Mike Tomlin thinks he's fine. And they've downplayed the need for wide receiver. They think they're all set. Van Jefferson's a great blocker. And Calvin Austin had his best game of the season. We're going to be all right. Then you're down, 14 to the Commanders. And you're looking for Van Jefferson to bail you out in the passing game. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Honestly, I think there were times last night that they almost tried to make it a point to show, hey, these other guys are just as good. Because I saw Pickens one-on-one a few times, and I was like, where's the moon ball? Where's the throw it down the field ball? Why are we – I understand, yes, it's great if we can get these other guys involved, but come on, let's keep our best players our best players.
No, I don't disagree at all. Feed George Pickens every time one-on-one, feed him.
So let's jump to what Marco said really quick, because we're all talking about what we want and that we need somebody. What if there's a very good chance that Mike Tomlin and all that, they just stay pat? What if we don't, that trade deadline goes and all of the, and we can't do anything about it anymore? Hypothetically, what chances do you guys give us? Where does that take us? Dave, start us off with that, because that's a very interesting question for Marco there.
To me, it puts a hard cap on what this team can accomplish. You're looking at struggling to get that elusive first playoff win with this group on offense. It's really kept my enthusiasm at a certain level, because I just don't know if this team can be much better. They need, to me, they need the wide receiver. If they don't get a second option, I really think we're limited. You're just limiting yourselves on how far you can go this season.
Yeah, I'm telling you, should they get one? Yeah. Will they get one? I think there's maybe a 10, 15% chance. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen this week.
What are we, a week from the trade deadline? Less than a week?
Yeah, I think it's not this weekend, but next weekend, or maybe during the week next week.
November 5th, I believe, right?
I think it's like a Tuesday.
I think it's a week from
Tuesday or
today.
so? It's a weird day.
As a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's not a matter of, and honestly, look, if I'm a team and I got a wide receiver to trade in the Steelers call, especially knowing that Omar Khan fleeced people in the past, I'm up in the price. Whatever I'm asking for, I'm up in the price. There's no way we're going to trade a second-round draft pick for any of the wide receivers available, including Cooper Kupp. But if you go get an Adam Thielen, maybe give a fifth instead of a sixth, I think not being able to trade that fourth is really hurting us. And technically, we can't even really trade the sixth, because
we can't.
Chicago's got
It's
both
in play.
those picks. Yeah, they got both those picks tied up. So would I give a fifth for Adam Thielen? Yeah, I think Omar would give a fifth for Adam Thielen. But if I'm the Panthers, I'm like, hey, I can get a fifth from anybody. From the Steelers, I should be able to get a third. We painted ourselves into a corner. Roman Wilson.
Yeah, that's on Omar.
IR. Yeah. Well, I don't buy that. I think it's on Tomlin, because he probably went to Tomlin and said, "Look, I can get this guy and get. Oh no, we're good with what we got. We're good with what we got. We're good with what we got." Well, now we're going to find out.
Zach, the initial question was, what we do if they don't go get anybody, correct?
Yep.
I honestly, then they're just going to stay where they're at. They signed that Isabella kid to the practice squad. They may.
Oh yeah, we got him.
They may think that, hey, this guy, maybe he's a great blocker. We can get him some action.
Oh,
maybe they would. Hey, I'm telling you now. Hey, Dave, just to your point, you're the one that said, hey, Tomlin may think they're good to go now. You might be right.
That's my frustration. That is absolutely
well,
my frustration.
your frustration might be reality, buddy, and that's what I'm scared of too, because they may be convinced now that Russ is so good that he's elevated everyone. So now there's no need to go get anybody. But if they don't go get anybody, maybe they go and try to get a Renfro or a Michael Thomas or somebody that's still out there if they feel the need. But they may not, and it may take an injury to somebody to actually get them to do anything. And that's what I'm worried about.
Hey, in fairness to Isabella, he fits our avatar for wide receiver. 5'9",
talentless,
188 pounds.
So
super fast, gets hurt all the time.
Yeah. So look, if they don't go get somebody, I think we're still going to have a good season. But as far as being a real contender, not feeling it.
I agree.
Hey, Marco, as far as we don't need a safety, we need a quarterback.
I don't know where he sees the safety thing.
Yeah,
the best.
Yeah, I don't get that either. But another thing too is just in general, I think if they do get one, they're going to go bargain shopping to where they don't got to give up a lot, and they're just going to get I got a feeling Steelers Nation is going to be disappointed in who they do get. It's going to be one of those things where I'm like, oh, why didn't you go get this guy? That's what's going to be. That's what's going to be.
Mike Williams.
Before we get into the good, bad, and the ugly of this, there is something to think about, because we don't have the wide receiver talent that we need. The defense has had some iffy moments. We haven't had a good start offensively. The refs have been against us, and we're 6-2, scoring a lot more than we normally do. So that's all I'm gonna say. There's a lot of things to be fixed, and normally with the Steelers team, when there's a lot of things to be fixed, it means you're struggling. If 6-2 is struggling right now, maybe Mike Tomlin will end up being right like he was about moving to Wilson, because I was just as mad about that. So I'm not sure how, but we're gonna get into that, because now we're gonna jump into the fun part where we all pick our goods and the bads and the uglies from this game. We'll start at the top with Dave. What was your good for this game?
I was wrong on Najee Harris. He has turned into one of the best backs in the league. I am just shocked.
Woo! Best backs
Did you
in
hear
the
that,
league.
Nazi?
He's one of the
Look
best
at you.
backs in the league.
Look
right
at
now.
you, Dave. Wow. All right.
I thought he was just above average type replaceable running back. These last 3 weeks, guys, 300-yard games in a row. He looks like a different guy. I'm just sometimes I don't believe my eyes. He looks faster. He's fired up. Maybe, I don't know, Russell Wilson gave him something.
Dave has officially joined the Najee Hive.
I think I have. They've swooped me up and taken me away. And I think I did mention this, Dave, when we did our podcast together. They screwed up not picking up his fifth-year option. This is just a flat-out mistake now. This guy's playing at a nearly Pro Bowl level, or Pro Bowl level. And he's going to walk at the end of this year. They could have had him at another year. What was the amount? I think it was $10 million or $8 million. That was a bargain for this.
Yeah, it was like 7. I thought it was like 7.
That was a big misstep by them not picking up that fifth-year option.
Well, the Giants didn't do it with Saquon a couple of years ago, and you can still franchise him. We can franchise him twice, and like the Giants did with Saquon.
That cut's going to cost you a lot more, right, than the fifth-year option.
Well, the good part about running back is it costs you more, but I mean, we're only talking about a couple $1 million, which to us is a lot of money.
$6 million bucks. They could have had him under contract. $6 million next season.
Yeah, so they pay him 10. Off of if he has a great year, yeah, sure, bring him back on the franchise tag. I mean, you know what I find interesting about the Najee thing, though? He took off the last 3 games, right? Who came back 3 games ago? Who to actually push him?
Jalen Warren, yeah.
Jalen Warren.
Yep.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Yep.
All of a sudden, Jalen's back in the lineup. Najee does great. They're a great tandem. They should. If Najee was smart and Jalen was smart, they would get together and figure out a way to split the money and sign here for 3 more years and play together, because they're both better with each other.
It's the best tandem in the league, right? Could you think of a better tandem? Maybe Baltimore with King Henry and who's the other running back?
Hill?
That's escaping.
Is it Hill?
Justice Hill.
Yeah.
Just because Derrick Henry's so good.
Hill's, I don't know. I don't know if I want to give Hill that kind of credit. I think Jalen and Najee are both better than him. Maybe I'm biased, but
I agree.
Yeah.
And Bob, that actually ties right into your good, because while Najee is having good, I am beyond surprised about your good, Bob. What's your goods for the game?
I thought the offensive line was good. They weren't great. They made mistakes, but overall, you're playing. Don't get it twisted, people. The Giants' defensive line is probably the best defensive line in the league. So they played pretty well. Najee got a bunch of yards, ran for 114 yards. It wasn't on double reverses. He ran through open holes. I thought the run blocking was pretty good. I thought overall the pass blocking was pretty good. The 4 sacks, I think 2 were on the offensive line, and I know our friends at Pro Football Focus gave 2 to the offensive line, and basically the other 2, I guess they call coverage sacks or on the quarterback or whatever. So, no, was it a perfect game? Is this the best unit in the NFL? No. But for a third-string center, a rookie guard, tackles that aren't very good, and Isaac Seumalo, they moved the ball up and down the field last night. They keep playing like that. You know, if you can move the Giants' defensive line, you can move most defensive lines. And I think getting Zach Frazier back next week, this line is going to take a step forward, and they're going to get progressively better. I don't think we've seen close to their best football yet. Big shock there. And then at the end of the year, I think we could be playing exceptionally on the offensive line.
I agree, and that ties right into yours, David. Because how did Dave and Bob's help out your good?
Yeah, look, for me, the good's Russell Wilson. He has literally somehow elevated the play of everyone around him, especially the wide receivers. For the first time this season, we had 3 wide receivers leading the team in receiving yards. Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson, Pickens all had 50-plus receiving yards. We haven't had that all season. And it's kind of funny. We get him now, and now we're seeing these kind of things. Also, Zach, you mentioned earlier that we've had 5 400-yard games in the last 4 seasons. We've had 5. You're right. Guess who has 2 out of those 5? Russell Wilson. In 2 games, his offense has 2 400-yard games. That's incredible. That's impressive. What else? He had a passer rating last night of 114.9. He also had 100-something passer rating the game before that. Let's just say in 2 games, he has more than a certain someone that was on this team last year didn't only have once in 12 games. Not going to bring up any names. Yeah, Russell Wilson was the good. The moon balls he's thrown, the touch passes. He's been incredible for this team. Hence why we saw them march down the field multiple times with easier than we've seen them do in how many seasons. So for me, the good is Russell Wilson. He's had a huge effect on this offense, way more than I ever envisioned, to be honest.
There was one specific moment. I know. Actually, Bob, great, right there, because I want to give my sister Katie's boyfriend Justin a shout out, because whenever that Russell audibled the pass protection in and brought Pat in because he recognized where that pressure was coming from. The Russ is a genius. That look at the veteran experience, all that came through, and it was all from him. And I went back and watched it, and that's something that, number one, Justin wasn't allowed to do. Fields wasn't allowed to audible, but even if he was, I don't think he would have seen what Russ saw in that situation, which is what. So that is a great point. But it's not just the moon balls. It's not just physical. The mental experience we're getting from Russell is having a legitimate positive impact on it. So, but now that we've gotten all the good stuff out of the way, what is the bads? So we can go back up to Dave. What's your bad?
Guys, challenge flags. Mike Tomlin. They need to take that flag away from him and never let him touch it again, ever. I mean, the man's on the competition committee, and he doesn't know he can't challenge an overturned call by a video. It costs the team a timeout this time. What are we doing, Mike Tomlin? I looked it up. He's at 40% for his career in challenge flag wins. And I think that's high. That's actually surprised me. I thought it was lower than that. The man just has no feel for when to throw it. I know it's small and stupid, but it's cost this team. It's cost this team timeouts. It's just, he's awful at it. And if there's someone there helping him with this, fire that person, because he's not helping. It's not gotten better. It's gotten worse. I don't know how they fix it. I jokingly say take the flag away from him. No one's taking the flag away from him. It's just a personal pet peeve of mine. I cannot stand it anymore. He is horrendous. Like, he's so bad, it's like he's doing it on purpose. Like, I'm going to throw a flag when I'm not supposed to. Let's see what happens. It's just, I can't take it anymore.
That's a very good point. There are some. I feel because he's Mike Tomlin and he likes to do things in a Mike Tomlin way. There's a lot of times he's like, I'm going to throw this flag to accomplish something else that has nothing to do with this flag, but I'm going to throw the flag because I think it'll eventually bring that around. It's those. That's what frustrates me, because whenever it throws the flag, I'm like, well, we all know that's not going to get turned over. What are you trying to accomplish? I don't understand, but that's a very, very good bad. But Bob, what about you? What are you concerned about? Your bad?
The defense in general was bad. I'm sorry, but the Giants' offense is trash. It's just Malik Neighbors is really good. We let basically a converted wide receiver into a running back in college come out and just run for all over us for 145 yards. I mean, Dante Jackson probably had his worst game as a Steeler. He's played pretty well all year long. So, a bad game's going to happen. I'm not going to panic over that. Um, got our guy Marco here who keeps saying safety. We have our safety play is probably the strength of the team at this point. Outside of TJ and outside of Alex, Deshaun Elliott and Minka Fitzpatrick are excellent. Deshaun Elliott might actually be the defensive MVP at this point.
Yeah, is this guy attacking Minka? Like, because I know Minka, they've been kind of getting on Minka more lately, I've noticed. So is that what this is about? Like, please, I wish this guy would reiterate, like, please explain to us who he's replaced.
Minka and Elliott have been fantastic.
Yeah,
I think it's a good duo.
I
mean, Minka's had some issues, but not to the point where he needs to be replaced. I saw here that the cornerback room, because as our awesome Angels pointed out, that I'm trying to speak into existence the Marshawn Lattimore deal, because I think the Saints could give up on him. If that happens, we're one of the best defenses in the NFL. Our cornerbacks, JPJ has not had a good year, but he is our best corner. Dante Jackson has had a pretty good year, coming off his worst game. Beanie Bishop's a nice story, and I hope it turns out well. But I'm sorry, a slow 5'9" dime or nickel corner, I don't think that's a Super Bowl kind of deal. I hate the idea that Cam Sutton is set up to be the savior, because I really don't think we should have ever brought him back. Our cornerback room is very thin. Any injury if JPJ gets hurt, we got problems. Dante Jackson gets hurt, we got problems. So, if we do get a defender, I think corner is the move. I like our linebackers. I like our defensive line. I like our safeties. Our corner room is a little bit weak.
Wow, what do you think about Tre'Davious White? It wouldn't cost much. 6th, 7th round pick. Get some depth.
I like him if he could stay healthy. The reason I like Lattimore is because he's basically a Pro Bowl level.
Lattimore's much better. Yeah, I'll give you that. But
if we could get him cheap, if we could get him cheap and he could stay, I think the big problem with Tre'Davious is he can't stay on the field. He's hurt a lot.
As a backup, break glass of that. He's better than C.J. Henderson and James Pierre. I can tell you that.
Yeah, but how much you want to give up for a depth piece?
The 6th to 7th.
Exactly.
He's not making any money. That's $1.5 million. He's a free agent after the season.
Yeah, if they would take a 6th or 7th, I'm down. But
they're not going to get much more.
We got a week to see if we can do that. But in the
they can't give up a 6th.
Just one more point to Marco here. Marco, Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates, that's all well and good. I'll take Minka Fitzpatrick and Deshaun Elliott over those two all day, every day, twice on Sundays.
Me too.
So, David, what about your bad against them?
Well, it's basically just piggybacking off of Bob's. I mean, mine's also the defense. Mine's more in the first half. They can't tackle. They just let offenses march right down the field. I don't know what is wrong with this team in the first half. They just have a lot of issues. It seems like they've morphed into this second half team or something, where the offense and the defense second half just figure it out and they make their adjustments and they really do well. And it's like, dude, what's going on when you go into this game? And that's the thing that's frustrating. That's like Peyton Wilson had like one solo tackle this game. Do you know who led the team in solo tackles and tackles basically in general? Joey Porter Jr.
How many times has been a secondary person that leads the team in tackles?
And that's the other thing. How many times was it got to be a secondary guy that leads the team in tackles? Like, that's bad. That should not happen. But for some reason, that first half, they struggle. And I don't know why. I was so fired up when the Steelers marched right down the field. And yes, they had to kick a field goal. But it's still to see them march right down the field like they did. But then when you let the Giants march right down the field again and again and again, it's like, dude, what the hell? This is supposed to be a great defense. And look what they do. But then in the second half, they shut it down a lot better. And you're just like, what? Did you make that many mistakes in your prep pregame when you're getting ready for this, that you had to make that many adjustments to fix all the shit that you did wrong in the first half? That's the thing that makes me wonder. But yeah, no, I'm with Bob here. Like, the defense was bad last night. It was not as good as it should have been.
That was bad enough that you made Dave disappear. Goodness gracious.
Nah.
The only reason I didn't bring up my good earlier is because it was Najee, so I didn't want to, double up on that. But my bad for this one is I am still seeing what the fuck plays from Arthur Smith that should not be being called at this point.
Yep.
You're not trying to figure out this offense anymore. You're not in a throw things against the wall and see how it works. You are still throwing halfback tosses to Najee. Now,
Yep.
At one point, I actually stood up and cheered because I didn't care if it worked or not. We tossed to Warren. And I sort of like, that's it. That's what you do. You toss to Warren. You toss to Patterson. You don't toss to Najee. So I'm frustrated that I'm still seeing. Now, they're a lot less than Canada, but there are plays that with, like, we might disagree about the margin of error thing, but I still feel with the small margin of error that this team has, we can't be calling those plays, especially in the first half of games. So Arthur Smith's what the fuck play calls still have me frustrated.
Zach, you're dead on, dude. They only had 3 targets to Jalen the whole game. He only had 2 receptions, 3 targets. He only had 9 attempts as well. Like they didn't really utilize Jalen a lot last night. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not. And if you guys think about it, last pod, I brought up the fact that, Najee's going to have the better game. They're going to want to have the ground and pound because the teams with the ground pound guy are having more success against the Giants.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you saw that was the route the Steelers went with. And then Jalen, to me, he just wasn't utilized a lot, especially like what Zach is saying in the past. Only 3 targets. That's it. I think they had 6 to 7 last week.
I thought that one screen pass first down though was huge. That kind of first time they got us into a real 3rd and long. I even remember Aikman saying, "Oh, now you got him in 3rd and long. What are you going to do with it?" And they threw a screen to Jalen, and Jalen, being Jalen, turned it up and took off and got the first down.
Exactly.
One quick thing, because Marco is going crazy about the safety thing in the chat. Marco, the safeties are not the ones who stop long runs. They're not. If a guy's going full speed by the time he gets to the safety, he's just going for the ride and hoping he brings him down. Safeties do not prevent long runs, buddy.
Yeah, we don't. I think there's a lot of times where if people are watching it in real time and they're not going back and looking at the film, it may look like, oh, well, why was Minka in that position? All that. Minka is making up for a lot of things that could happen.
Exactly.
But if you look at it in the moment and all you see is Minka suddenly trying to catch up from the back, you assume, oh, well, Minka must have. It's not happening in that sense. So what you're seeing isn't exactly matching what you believe is the cause for it. So you got to give Minka credit because dude's been a beast this season. But
if your safeties are your best run defenders, I'll remind you what that looked like back in 2021 when our safeties were our best run defenders. You're giving up a lot of yards on the ground if your safeties are making all your run stops.
Yeah, we're going to stay in the same vein here because we're going to talk about uglies. Dave, what was your ugly? Because all of us seem to be kind of on the same page on this one.
I hate to harp on it, but it's the defense. It's not just bad for me, it's ugly because when you give up 394 yards to the Giants and 145 yards to a backup running back, albeit a pretty good one, for a $126 million defense, it's just not good enough. This defense should be carrying the team, not holding on. You could almost make the argument that the offense is surpassing the defense as a better unit on this team. This defense is getting gashed. 4 out of the last 5 weeks, they've given up 350 plus yards.
Yep.
They gave up a ton of yards to the Jets. The onely game they didn't was the Raiders. The Raiders are talentless. They don't have anybody on that team. So the Colts gashed us for what was the Colts number? 358 yards total offense. This is not $126 million defense. This is not. You've got all pros on every level. You've got T.J. Watt and maybe Alex Highsmith almost getting to that all-pro level. You've got Cam Hayward. In the back end, you've got Minka and Elliott. This team should not be giving up this kind of yardage that they do every single season. Now, points per game, they're still getting it done. Teams are not, killing them in the red zone, so maybe that's something they can hang their hat on. But they need to fix this, and they need to fix it fast. This defense just isn't playing good enough right now.
That's the only part that really got me concerned, because like I've talked about on the podcast, I don't mind the bend and don't break mentality, but you
But not
allow
with this group of
points in
players.
the second you allow any points in the second half, especially against the Giants. That was concerning, because that shouldn't happen. I understand 9 points in the first half. Okay, we got gashed. That concerned me, because yet again, I'm looking ahead to these teams we're playing. I'm like, if we can't even shut the Giants down in the second half when our offense is giving us the support that we kind of need points wise, that, and I guarantee the defense knows it too. So what I'm going to go on a limb here, and I'm going to say what we just saw was a fluke. That for the rest of the season, you're not going to see a combination of yards and points. You're going to see yards while the Steelers do not allow them in the end zone. I'm going to say that was a fluke from the defense points wise, especially in the second half.
You're hoping to bend, but don't break.
Yeah, but
Yes,
with this
that-
defense,
that-
is that the best you can hope for? You got TJ Watt, you know.
You
you got all
shouldn't
these-
be, no. But this is reality. Like,
I know.
I
And
get
it's
what
not
you're
like
saying, but
they faced murderer's row of offenses here in the first half either. This has been
right.
pretty, you know,
That's
run-of-the-mill average
that's-
offenses.
that's my whole point earlier about this 6-2 record. Yes, I am fucking excited. We are 6-2. However, look at the teams that we have beat and lost to compared to what's coming up. It's a big difference here. So they better get their shit together, because it is not going to get easy here the second half.
Yeah, Tyrone Tracy, 145 yards rushing against this defense. That's just
Yeah, but and you look at it, and it was all levels failed.
yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
Ogunjobi played horrible, but they ran over him
That's a
a
good point.
lot. And then, I felt like they didn't adjust, and I kind of understand why that they didn't just start throwing a London Roberts out there, because it was smart of Dable. Look, nobody expected them to come out and run the ball.
No.
You expect they're going to throw the ball to Malik Neighbors 20 times.
Yes.
And I think they used it to their advantage, and we adjusted. The second half adjustments, one of the guys in the chat made the point, are a lot better this year. But I felt like they didn't really adjust enough. I think they thought after the half that they would go more to Neighbors. That was a first half ploy to open up the passing game. I don't know. I just, it's the money we're paying. The problem is we've built this team to be so defensive heavy, and I think that's the point we're all making. If you're going to pay the defense more than some teams pay their offensive stars or offensive units, this has got to be a shutdown, lockdown.
Right.
A team like the Giants should only score 3 points.
Right.
And let's be honest, the Raiders game, yeah, did we give up a lot of yards? But there was a point in that game in the third quarter where the Raiders had the ball in a one-score game.
This defense, for the amount of money we're paying, they should be top 5 in every statistical category for defense, and they're not. And that's what I don't like seeing.
Now,
The two biggest
I'm
moves
wondering
in
here.
the offseason were Patrick Queen and Dante Jackson. We already had a talented defense, and then they spent all their resources on defense again.
Well, at
So
what
this
point do
defense
you
should
have
be
to
elite.
wonder? But my question here, it's not about the people. My question is, at what point do you have to wonder why we have a $5 million car and a driver who
Bingo.
just got his
Coaching.
license is kind of confused about where the pedals are? Because I saw one specific play. Terrell Austin has a very, very specific and absolute ceiling and limitation, because when he tries to get cute, he loses track of everything else that's going on. Kind of like when I was a waiter. I was really good at one table. All my other tables, I forgot about. I had no idea what was going on. But that one table, he tried to move Alex and TJ around. And that became his only focus. And the Giants knew exactly what was going on, because he moved TJ to their side, and they were like, oh, okay. And they ran right at TJ. And that was one of the big runs. And they were like, we know what you're doing. Why are you trying? Terrell Austin doesn't have the creativity, the ability. He can't do so. I think we have to fix that problem. We have a very expensive defense. And I think we've seen very, very good players. And we have a coach there that is, he's underwater. I don't think Terrell Austin knows what to do with this.
You're mispronouncing his name.
I was gonna, Bob. You took the words out of my
Defensive
mouth.
coordinator. You mean Mike Tomlin? Because Terrell Austin don't run that defense.
You must be reading my mind, Bob.
I beat you to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. So,
Terrell Austin,
so,
aka Mike Tomlin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that's what's standing? Because in my opinion, if you have on defense that you're spending this much money on, the very first thing you do is you go out and you get the best defensive coordinator money can buy. You
Mike Tomlin won't stand for
headhunt
that.
him from another team.
Just like
and,
just like the Steelers are known for high-priced assistant coaches.
It's never going to happen. That's never going to happen.
Big problem here. So that's an excellent point that we have the pieces, but I don't think that I'm hoping that the next week and a half, 2 weeks is going to be where they legitimately look at how this defense can stop contenders, because that there's a disconnect between coaching and players right now on defense.
I mean,
so
until somebody stops letting us get pressure with 4 so we can drop 7, I don't think anything's going to change. Could we blitz more? Should we blitz more? Yeah. I thought there was a couple times where we ran the gut blitz that we're so known for, that we really have gone away from in recent years. Peyton Wilson, the one time got home. He didn't get the sack, but he put a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones. I mean, yeah, we could blitz more. I mean, I'd like to see Peyton Wilson line up in the old Mike Hilton spot and come off the edge, and let's see who can block that guy.
Now, what one thing I really like is when we have extremely contrasting situations. Bob had the O-line, and this is good. Bob was very impressed. David doesn't agree.
I'll say this. I'll just put it this way. The pass protection was ugly. We'll go with that. The pass protection was ugly for me. Look, they gave up 4 sacks. Brock Jones had a face mask penalty on a touchdown pass. He also gave up a sack. McCollum had a sack. Sam Mallet had a penalty. McCormick had a penalty. Anderson, in one play, replacing Moore right off the bat, gave up a fucking sack. I mean, it was just like, holy shit,
Calvin,
guys.
not Spencer. So.
Yeah. So,
Calvin Anderson, yeah.
like, it was pass pro, I thought they were bad. I just, running wise, Bob's right. They did good in the running game, obviously. But pass pro, fuck no. Like, they were ugly. And look, Bob's also right in the fact that they're facing a pretty good D-line. Like, and those guys were good. Yeah, I agree. But just because they're good doesn't mean we have to suck. That's the way I look at it. And 2, if the O-line did so good, why did not one player get graded in the 80s or top 5? None of them even sniffed it. So for me, that says that they didn't do that well. But whatever.
When does the PFF ever grade one of our linemen that high?
Right.
Well, I mean,
you would think Calvin
I'm just
Anderson's
saying,
one snap, you might get some help with a back or a tight end. They left him one-on-one with a good pass rusher. That kind of boggles your mind, too.
That was very,
that's
very
schematic is stupid. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe he thought that Russell Wilson should not be married to Sierra, and he was really upset about it. So he just said, "Hey, go kill my guy."
Well, that's something we want to put out there, because I'm sure Calvin Anderson and Bob would have a very interesting boxing match when it comes down to that. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. But since we had some unfortunate uglies and we had to talk about some not so great moments despite the win, let's close it off with something fun. Bob, what's your ugly?
Okay, so my ugly, if you watched on social media, and if you haven't, Bustin' with the Boys, Portersburg, a bunch of guys have this on Twitter. If you just look up George Pickens' people's elbow, I thought it was hilarious. Okay, on the turnover, the Giants guy got up to run, and it turns out he was down by contact. They go to tackle him, and Pickens does this. I mean, I don't know what it looked like the people's elbow. He jumps way up on the air, drops the elbow. I don't know what he was thinking, but George Pickens does weird things. If you really watch him during a game, there's always a play or two in the game where he's having fun. And not to say that it was a dirty play or a nasty play. I mean, he barely
made contact. He just
Yeah, he jumped, and then he like lost his. I don't know if he lost his balance or had nowhere to go, and he's
done it before.
I think he did it on purpose.
It was Mark Caboli or Farabah. Someone posted that, hey, this reminds me of something. They posted Pickens against the Raiders. I think it was last year.
Oh yeah, I saw that too.
He tried to jump up. So while I would love to think that in that moment Pickens is like, things are going really well, I should use a wrestling move on this guy who's down. What happened was Pickens likes to try and leapfrog over piles like he's hurdling. I don't know if it's a way to get himself psyched up, but he's done it before. And this is not the first time. He gets tripped by the line and just falls on his ass. So
I think John Edborg's right in the chat. Yeah, I think John Edborg's right in the chat that I think he does freak out when things get around his legs and he wants to get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. It's not a dumb move.
No,
you're a wide receiver.
You would think he would jump out of the play though. He drives the elbow down on the guy.
I don't think George Pickens knows what he's doing from play to play. He's just reacting to the moment.
And to John, a good point. We know Pickens does worry about injury. He's talked before. The reason he said about that specific block, I was worried about getting injured. So that could be a reason. So I'll close this out because mine is not something that is new or anything. My ugly was the slow offensive starts because in my mind, like we were talking about with David earlier, all I could see was Christmas Day, us down 28-6 at halftime because of the same situation, regardless of whether it's self-inflicted or not. I truly believe we have a smaller margin of error than a lot of other people might think, and that is my concern. But 2 weeks is a very long time for a team that seems to be gelling like this to have together to get ready. Now, the one thing that we didn't touch on that I want to get a really, really quick, we're talking like 30 to 45 seconds touch on each of you guys, starting with Bob and going around. Hard Knocks, how do you feel about it?
Don't care. I really don't. I don't think it's gonna. Let's put it this way: if a camera crew being in there distracts you so much that it hurts your play on the field, then frankly you weren't very good anyway.
I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait to see the inside behind the curtain stuff with the Steelers. I know they're sharing it with everybody in the AFC North, so you're not going to get the full experience. But man, I can't wait. I can't wait. I don't mind seeing the Cleveland dumpster fire either, and getting a little behind the scenes peek on that. Cincinnati's struggling too. So yeah, Hard Knocks does a great job, and we've been dying for the Steelers to get theirs, and they never do because I think you can't be a playoff team the season before to get or a winning record, right? So whatever the case is, we're finally going to get it, and I'm super excited for it.
I just canceled my subscription on HBO, so I'm going to need somebody's logins. That was a mistake on my part.
Help us out, chat.
Hey, we forgot. Did anybody give
GoFundMe for HBO for Dave?
Hey, LeeAnn's not here, so I thought it would be right that we give Alex Highsmith some love. He had 11 pressures last night on top of the 2 sacks.
Yeah,
and 2 tackles for loss.
Something we didn't mention.
It just hit me, and I was like, man, LeeAnn's going to kill us if we don't give her boy, some love. So
that was a very good point.
Yeah,
Chris Hubbard, old
awesome.
Steeler, could not block him.
No.
Could not block him.
No. So, but yeah, as far as Hard Knocks goes, I'm cool with it. Whatever. It's going to be weird because I know Tom and him don't like this kind of shit. So it's going to be funny to see how mad he gets because they're there. It's going to be entertaining.
I think they're going to really have to work to force him to be on camera.
Yeah,
exactly. I think that Tomlin allowed himself about an hour to be apoplectic about it and then said, okay, let's have a strategy. So when that happens, we know exactly who's going to be on camera. We know exactly and they are ready for this. And I think it's going to be a lot of Danny Smith. Pat Freiermuth was on the Pat McAfee show, and he was specifically saying that the best thing for the team would just have the entire time just put Danny Smith in front of the camera and let him do his thing. So, but yeah, we want to make sure to send LeeAnn all of the good travel vibes. She was at the game, which is why we won, because of all the awesomeness. Is why Najee had the big game. Highsmith, it was because LeeAnn was there in person.
Oh, yeah,
so
all her boys did well, right?
Yeah,
they did. It was a big game for all of the other people LeeAnn support, which is wonderful. So you guys will see us again on our preview episode It'll be a little different. It's going to be a bye-week episode, and we're going to look at what this second half of the season is going to be. So, guys, any final thoughts to close us out?
Good.
I'm good.
Just one thing I see Awesome Angels mention about Pickens. That's a guy dark horse to look for. I think John is saying they think they'll try to keep him away from the camera. I think the camera will find him. Caboli always says he's a good guy to talk to. So I
he's going to look for the
wonder
camera.
I wonder if he'll use this to kind of change his rep with fans.
You should.
Good.
That's a very good point. Okay, well, we are 6-2, and we have a little bit of a break before the next game. So here we go, Steelers. Everybody have a wonderful week.
Talk to you soon.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah.
That was a good one.
I like that one too.
Put out-
I like that one too.
No,
Now I'm
that's
torn on
probably-
which one I like better.
Yeah.